My parents branded me stingy after I bankrolled my brother for 3 years. But when I finally said no, they faced a reality they could no longer ignore. There is me, a 27-year-old male, my younger brother Marcus, a 22-year-old male, and my sister Sarah, a 25-year-old female who is already living on her own and working on her PhD in another city. Our parents seemed pretty normal at first. Dad works in sales, and Mom is a high school teacher, living a middle-class lifestyle, nothing too crazy. When I first moved back home, my parents said, "We'll charge you $800 a month for rent, utilities included." That honestly seemed fair at the time, much cheaper than getting my own place. Sarah thought it was weird that they were charging their own kid rent when they knew I was trying to save up, but I brushed it off. Man, I should have listened to her. Here is where things started getting interesting. And by interesting, I mean completely messed up. Marcus was about to start college, and one night my parents sat me down for what they called a family meeting. You know those conversations that seem totally normal at first, but then you look back and realize that is where everything went wrong. This was one of those. They started off casually, saying, "Hey, since you're making good money now and living here conveniently, forgetting about the rent I was paying them, maybe you could help out with Marcus's education." The way they presented it made it sound so reasonable. They were not asking for the whole thing, just wanted me to chip in because family helps family. I remember texting Sarah about it that night, and she immediately called me, saying it was nonsense. "They're setting you up," she said. I was like, "Nah, it's just a little help with tuition. What's the big deal?" Looking back now, Sarah saw the red flags from a mile away. The first semester, it was just helping with tuition, about $30,500. Then it was another $500 for books. Then Marcus needed a laptop because his old one was too slow for his engineering programs. That was another $1,200. I was making decent money and living at home, so I could handle it, right? What I did not realize at the time was how this created a weird power dynamic in the house. I would be trying to work from home. Remember, this was during COVID, and Marcus would have his friends over, being loud as hell in the next room. If I complained, my parents would say, "Oh, he needs to de-stress from his studies." But if I wanted to have my friends over, suddenly it was, "We need quiet in the house," or "The living room's too messy for guests." The real kicker was how they started treating my spending habits. I would buy myself something small, like a $60 game, and my mom would make passive-aggressive comments like, "Must be nice to have money to waste on games," or, "I guess Marcus's education isn't that expensive if you can afford to buy games." Meanwhile, they had no problem with Marcus ordering Uber Eats 3 times a day or buying new clothes every other week with my money. Sarah would visit sometimes and just watch all this go down with this look on her face, that I told you so look siblings get. She tried warning me multiple times that this was not normal, but I kept making excuses. They were just looking out for Marcus, or it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things. The worst part? I was actually proud at first. I genuinely felt good about being able to help my brother out. I would see him walking to campus in the rain and think, I'm being a good big brother. Spoiler alert, that feeling did not last long. Throughout all this, I was still paying that $800 in rent. I never missed a payment, never even paid late. Somehow, that never came up when my parents would talk about how I was living rent-free, their words, not mine, and should be grateful for the opportunity to give back to the family. Looking back now, I cannot believe how blind I was to what was happening. Sarah keeps telling me it is not my fault that manipulative people are good at making crazy situations seem normal. But man, when I think about how I let them set this precedent, it makes my stomach turn. Helping with Marcus's tuition was just the beginning. It is like they say, give someone an inch and they will take a mile. In my case, they took several thousand miles and then complained about the view. Let me break down what a typical month looked like. I started keeping track in a spreadsheet because things were getting so crazy. $800 for rent to my parents, around $30,500 for Marcus's tuition payments, $200 to $300 for his textbooks, because apparently he needed the newest editions, $400 to $500 for his school supplies, which somehow included a new gaming chair because it would help him study better, plus random stuff like food, clothes, and whatever else he needed. It gets better. One rainy day, I was driving home from work and saw Marcus walking to campus, looking like a drowned rat. I felt bad for him. Stupid me, right? So I decided to buy him a car, a decent 2019 Honda Civic with low miles, a clean history, and good gas mileage. I spent $19,000 on it, a big chunk of my savings, but I figured it was a solid investment in my brother's education. You want to know what this ungrateful little jerk said when I gave him the keys? Oh, I was kind of hoping for something more like Jake's BMW. This is kind of basic. Basic. The free car I bought him was basic. Sarah literally face-palmed when I told her about it later. The car was not even the worst part. My parents apparently saw me buying Marcus a car as some kind of sign that I was secretly swimming in money. Next thing I know, Mom's washing machine breaks down. Instead of getting it fixed or buying a reasonable replacement, she starts dropping hints about this fancy Samsung model that was on sale for only $1,200. Because I was still trying to be a good son, I bought it for her. You would think she would be grateful, right? No. 2 weeks later, she was complaining that her friend Helen had the model with the steam function, and how that would have been so much better for Dad's dress shirts. Then she started having issues with her iPhone 11, and suddenly needed the iPhone 14 Pro because all her teacher friends had one. Another $1,000 down the drain. Not to be outdone, Dad started talking about this Weber grill he had been eyeing. $1,200 later, he used it twice, and then complained it was not the exact model he wanted. The old grill was working fine, by the way. He just wanted the fancy one to show off to the neighbors. Meanwhile, I was driving my 2015 Toyota Corolla, which runs perfectly fine, thank you very much, wearing clothes from Target and getting called Stingy because I did not want to go on their fancy family vacation to Hawaii. Hello, I was paying for 2 households at this point. The absolute cherry on top. One day, I overheard my mom on the phone with my aunt talking about how concerned she was about my spending habits. According to her, I was throwing money away on stupid stuff instead of investing in my future. The stupid stuff? My $15 a month gym membership and occasionally ordering pizza. I wish I was making this up. Sarah would visit every few weeks and just watch this circus with a mix of horror and fascination. She tried talking to our parents about it once, pointing out how they never asked her for money since she was in graduate school and barely making ends meet. You know what they said? Well, your brother makes good money. He can afford to help the family. Help the family, right? Because apparently dropping over $40,000 in less than 2 years was not enough help. The money was not even the worst part, though. It was the attitude that came with it. Marcus started acting like my personal investment was his birthright. He would text me stuff like, "Need $50 for dinner with friends. No please, no thank you, not even a question mark, just straight up telling me to send money." My parents enabled this completely. Anytime I tried to say no or suggest maybe Marcus could get a part-time job, they would hit me with a family helps family guilt trip, or my personal favorite, "We didn't raise you to be selfish." Pretty rich coming from people who were basically treating their own son like a walking wallet. I started trying to hide any signs that I had money. I stopped buying anything new for myself and started bringing lunch to work instead of buying it. Somehow, they always knew when I got a bonus or a raise. To this day, I am pretty sure my mom was checking my mail for bank statements. The real fun part was how they handled my friends coming over. Remember how I mentioned I was paying $800 in rent? Apparently, that did not give me the right to have friends over. Every time I tried, there was some excuse. The house is too messy, we need quiet, or we're having a family night. But Marcus could have the entire engineering department over until 3 in the morning, and my parents would just smile and say, "Boys will be boys." Now, I am going to tell you about the moment everything changed. It was not some big dramatic showdown like you see in movies. It was something so small and stupid that it is almost funny. It was a regular Tuesday evening, and I had just finished a 10-hour workday because apparently being the family ATM meant I needed to pick up extra projects for more money. Marcus came barging into my room without knocking. Personal space was not really a thing in our house anymore. He needed money for books again, the 3rd time that semester, which made 0 sense because who needs that many books halfway through a term? I was used to it by this point. What got me was not the request, it was his attitude. This kid literally rolled his eyes at me and said, "Why do I always have to ask? Can't you just set up automatic transfers or something? It's annoying having to ask every time I need money." The audacity of this little jerk. It was like being mugged by someone who is annoyed that you are making them pull out their gun. I remember just sitting there staring at my second-hand desk because I could not waste money on new furniture while Marcus needed a gaming setup for study purposes. Something in my brain clicked that night. I could not sleep, kept thinking about how we got here. When exactly did I go from helpful older brother to family financing department? I opened my banking app and started adding up everything I had spent on them in the past 3 years. Big mistake. By 2 in the morning, I was having what I can only describe as an existential crisis. Here is a quick breakdown of what I found, and it still makes me nauseous. Marcus's tuition, approximately $21,000. That damn Civic, $19,000. Books and supplies, approximately $11,200. Mom's washing machine, $1,200. Mom's iPhone, $1,000. Dad's useless grill, $1,200. Random expenses for Marcus, approximately $15,000. Rent to my parents, $28,800. $800 times 36 months. That is just what I could track through my bank statements. It does not include all the cash I handed out or the small stuff I stopped keeping receipts for. I felt sick, physically ill. I went to the bathroom and actually threw up. Then, because I clearly hate myself, I opened Reddit and started typing out this crazy long post about everything. I did not expect much, maybe a few people telling me I was an idiot. They would not be wrong. The response floored me. Within an hour, my inbox was exploding. One comment hit me like a truck. Why do you set yourself on fire to keep others warm? That line broke something in me. I started reading more comments, and it was like everyone could see what I could not. Your parents are financially abusing you. They're using you as a retirement plan and college fund. Your brother sees you as an ATM because that's how your parents taught him to see you. They charge you rent and make you pay for everything. That's messed up. Sarah called me at 3 in the morning because, of course, she was reading the Reddit post. She follows my account to keep tabs on my sanity, as she puts it. She was like, finally, I've been trying to tell you this for 3 years. The next day at work was weird. I kept thinking about all the comments, people sharing similar stories, talking about how they broke free, how much better their lives got once they set boundaries. It was like a fog lifting. Then my mom texted me, Marcus needs new winter tires for the Civic. The dealership quoted $800. Handle it this weekend, please. Not, can you help, or would you be able to? Just handle it, like I was her employee. I did not respond, which was apparently unacceptable because an hour later my dad called. Your mother texted you about the tires, he said. Not a question, not a greeting, just straight to what they needed from me. I saw it, I said. Well, are you going to take care of it? That is when I said something I had never said before. No. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, what do you mean no? It's your brother's safety we're talking about. I replied, it's not my car anymore. I gave it to him. His car, his tires, his problem. He started going off about family responsibility and how selfish I was being. Called me ungrateful, reminded me how I was living in their house, conveniently forgetting the $800 a month rent again. I hung up, just clicked the red button mid-rant. Then I opened my laptop and started apartment hunting. Not in our city, but in different states, because at that point I knew I needed to get far away, or nothing would ever change. That night, I got another urgent text from Marcus about needing money for some group project supplies. I ignored it. Mom called twice. I ignored those too. Dad left a voicemail about how disappointed he was. I deleted it without listening. Sarah sent me a simple text. Proud of you, bro. About damn time. After my Reddit-induced awakening and saying no for the first time ever, things at home got weird as hell. Like passive-aggressive Olympics-level weird. Mom would sigh loudly whenever I walked past her. Dad would watch me like I had committed some horrible crime. Marcus was doing this thing where he would talk about me while I was in the room, saying stuff like, some people don't care about family, to his friends on the phone. Real mature, right? Sarah had driven down to visit that weekend. She later admitted she came because she sensed something was about to go down. Sister's intuition is scary sometimes. Saturday night, Mom made this big family dinner, her signature pot roast, mashed potatoes, the whole 9 yards. Looking back, I should have known something was up because she only makes the full spread when she wants something. We were all sitting there, this weird tension in the air, when Dad decided to drop the bomb, so Marcus needs new tires for the Civic, plus his laptop's acting up. Probably need about $2,000 total to take care of everything. He said this super casually, like he was commenting on the weather, but I had already said no to the tires thing. Now they were trying to sneak it back in with the laptop as a bonus. Classic them. I put down my fork. Still regret not finishing that potato. Mom's cooking is literally the only thing I miss. And said, actually, I'm not paying for any of that. Not the tires, not the laptop, not anything else. You know in movies when someone drops a glass and everything goes quiet? It was like that, except nobody dropped anything. They all just froze. Marcus's fork was literally halfway to his mouth, a piece of pot roast just hanging there. Mom tried to laugh it off. Don't be silly, honey. Of course you're helping your brother. That's what family does. I said, no, that's what parents do. I'm not his parent. Dad's face went through 5 different colors. Now listen here, he started. But I was not done. No, you listen. I've paid for everything for 3 years. Everything. His tuition, his car, his clothes, his gaming chair that was supposedly for studying. And what do I get? Complaints that the car isn't fancy enough, eye rolls when he asks for money, comments about how stingy I am while I'm dropping 100 grand on this family. Sarah was sitting there with this little smile on her face, like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. Mom started doing her thing where she fake cries to make people feel guilty, but I was on a roll. Oh, and let's not forget how I pay you $800 a month in rent, but you still act like I'm living here for free. Or how about the washing machine I bought you that's not as good as Helen's? The iPhone that was needed, but apparently isn't good enough. Dad's precious grill that he used twice? Marcus decided this was his moment to chime in. You're such an asshole. You make all this money and act like helping your family is some huge burden. I actually laughed, full-on laughed in his face. My duty? Was it your duty to be grateful, to say thank you, to maybe take care of the car I bought you? Because if we're talking about duty, you failed spectacularly at yours. We gave you a home, Mom said, full-on crying now. Let me stop you, I said. I pay rent. And let's talk about this home. My friends aren't allowed over because the house needs to be quiet, but Marcus can have a frat party at 3 in the morning. I can't use the living room TV because Marcus needs it for studying. Since when does Fortnite count as studying? Dad slammed his hand on the table. That's enough. We're family. Family helps each other. Your mother and I have sacrificed everything for you kids. Sarah finally spoke up. You've been using him as your personal bank. You don't even ask me for money because you know I'd tell you to shove it. You found your golden goose and milked him dry. That is when I dropped the real bomb. I'm moving out. Not just out of this house, I'm leaving the state. Already signed a lease. Already got a job lined up. I'm done. The chaos that followed, man. Mom started wailing about how I was abandoning the family. Dad was yelling about respect and family duty. Marcus was calling me every name in the book. Sarah was yelling back at them, defending me. I just sat there, weirdly calm. I'm leaving in 2 weeks. Marcus, the Civic is paid off and in your name. Do whatever you want with it. Mom, Dad, my last rent payment will be prorated for the days I'm here. After that, you're on your own. I got up and walked out of the dining room. Behind me, I could hear Marcus yelling, "You're dead to me." Real original, bro. Mom was sobbing dramatically, and Dad was saying something about ungrateful children. Sarah followed me upstairs. Holy shit, she said. That was better than any reality TV I've ever watched. I started packing that night, not because I was planning to leave early, but because I needed to do something with all this adrenaline. Plus, I did not want to give them time to hide or damage any of my stuff. Paranoid, maybe, but by that point, I would not put anything past them. The aftermath of this dinner, well, that is a whole other story. Let us just say the next 2 weeks were what I imagined living in a passive-aggressive war zone would feel like. The psychological warfare that followed was intense. You know how in movies, when someone is about to leave a toxic situation, everything goes smoothly? That is not how real life works at all. The morning after the dinner, I woke up to 37 missed calls and about 100 text messages. Some highlights: Mom, how could you do this to your family? Dad, you're making your mother cry. Marcus, you and your stupid Civic. Aunt Karen, who was not even at dinner, your mother is devastated. Sarah, don't respond to any of them. Also, I'm coming back next weekend to help you pack. I blocked most of them by breakfast. Sarah was the only one I kept unblocked because, well, she is Sarah. She has literally been the only sane person in this circus. The psychological game started almost immediately. Mom went from crying and begging to giving me the silent treatment, sometimes switching between the two multiple times in a single day. She would either sob loudly in the hallway when I passed by, or act like I was invisible. Dad took a different approach, cornering me in the kitchen or garage, and starting these long lectures about family responsibility and how I was throwing away years of tradition. My favorite was when he tried to guilt-trip me with, "I changed your diapers." Yeah, Dad, that is kind of the bare minimum of parenting. Not really a valid reason for me to keep spending thousands on your adult son. Marcus went full drama queen. He would slam doors whenever I was around, blast music at 3 in the morning pointed directly at my bedroom wall, and tell anyone who would listen about how I was abandoning the family. He even posted a long rant on Facebook about toxic family members. The irony was completely lost on him. The best part, he kept dropping hints about all the stuff he needed before I left, like my laptop's really slow, or the Civic needs an oil change, or my personal favorite, Jake's brother bought him a MacBook Pro before he moved away. Cool story, bro. Jake's brother sounds like another sucker. I started documenting everything because some of the Reddit comments on my previous posts warned me about potential escalation. I set up a camera in my room, legal in my state as long as it is my private space, saved every text, kept all emails, and took photos of my stuff daily in case anything mysteriously broke. Speaking of my stuff, watching them realize how much of their stuff was actually mine was kind of hilarious. The TV in the living room? Mine. The fancy coffee maker? Mine. The tools in the garage? Mostly mine. The Wi-Fi router and gaming console? You guessed it, mine. I started making a list of everything I needed to take, and it was basically half the house's amenities. Sarah drove down that weekend like she promised, and thank God she did because things got weird. Mom suddenly wanted to help with packing, coming into my room with boxes, acting all motherly, but I would catch her going through my stuff when she thought I was not looking. Dad kept making comments about how certain items should stay with the family, items I had bought with my own money, mind you. The guilt trips got creative too. Mom would make all my favorite foods, then cry about how no one would be here to enjoy her cooking anymore. Dad started bringing up random memories from my childhood, like, "Remember when we taught you to ride a bike?" "Yeah, Dad, and remember when I bought you a $1,200 grill you used twice?" Marcus switched between ignoring my existence and making snide comments about how he would have to lower himself to get a part-time job now. The one time I did respond, I just said, "Welcome to real life, buddy." He did not like that very much. The worst was when they tried to involve my extended family. Suddenly, every aunt, uncle, and second cousin twice removed was calling or texting about how I was tearing the family apart. Most of them had no idea I had been bankrolling everything. They just got Mom's version, where I was the ungrateful son abandoning his poor family. Sarah, being the absolute legend she is, started posting receipts, literally, on the family Facebook group. Screenshots of my bank statements showing payments for Marcus's tuition, the Civic purchase, Mom's washing machine, Dad's grill, everything. That shut them up pretty quick. The final straw was when I overheard Mom and Dad discussing how they could convince me to leave my TV and gaming setup for Marcus because he needs something to help him cope with this betrayal. I called Sarah immediately, and we rented a storage unit the next day. I started moving my most valuable stuff out when nobody was home. Work was my only escape during all this. I would leave early, come home late, and eat lunch at my desk just to minimize the time I had to spend at home. My coworkers probably thought I was gunning for a promotion, but no, I was just avoiding World War III at home. One night, I was loading some boxes into my car around midnight. Yeah, it got to the point where I was sneaking around like a thief in my own house, and our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, came out. She had lived next door since I was a kid, and had apparently heard everything through her kitchen window during the dinner fight. She just looked at me and said, "Good for you, honey. Should have done it sooner." Then she gave me a Tupperware full of her famous enchiladas and told me to be careful driving at night. Sometimes support comes from the most unexpected places, you know. Moving day came, and I had hired movers. Thanks to everyone who suggested this in the comments. Best advice ever because I did not trust my family to not accidentally break my stuff if they helped. Sarah took the day off to supervise while I handled last-minute stuff at work. Mom spent the whole morning crying in the kitchen, loud enough for the movers to hear. Real subtle, Mom. Dad stood in the driveway with his arms crossed, watching everything like a prison guard. Marcus did not even come out of his room, just blasted Linkin Park's Numb on repeat. Real mature, bro. The best part, when the movers started taking the living room TV, mine, Dad actually tried to stop them, saying there must be some mistake. That's a family TV. Sarah shut that down real quick by pulling out the receipt from my files. His face when he saw my name on it, priceless. I had found a decent apartment in a smaller city about 4 states away. Nothing fancy, a basic 1-bedroom with some charm, also known as slightly outdated everything. But you know what made it perfect? It was mine. No guilt trips about using the living room, no complaints about having friends over, no random family members walking in without knocking. The first night in the new place was weird as hell. I was lying there on my mattress, still had not set up the bed frame, and it was just quiet. No Marcus's gaming rage at 2 in the morning. No Mom's passive-aggressive sighing. No Dad's late-night lectures about family duty. Just silence. I actually had trouble sleeping because it was too peaceful. Then the silence extended to my phone. Total radio silence from the family, like a complete communication blackout. Even the flying monkeys, also known as the extended family, stopped messaging. Sarah told me Mom had made this big dramatic post on Facebook about respecting privacy during this difficult family time. Translation, she was embarrassed that people knew they had been mooching off me. Sarah kept me updated on the family situation. She's the only one I still talk to regularly. Apparently things got real interesting after I left. Marcus had to get a part-time job at Starbucks because gas bills exist. Mom had to start bringing lunch to work instead of eating out every day. Dad's fancy grill mysteriously stopped working, probably because he never bothered to learn how to maintain it properly. The Civic needed repairs, and Marcus had to pay for them himself. The horror. The best part, they started treating Sarah differently. Remember how they never asked her for money because she was still studying? Suddenly, they started dropping hints about her helping the family. She shut that down so fast it probably broke the sound barrier. "Sorry," she told them, "but I learned from watching what you did to my brother." Mic drop. About a month in, I got my first actual mail from them, a birthday card from Mom. Inside was a long, guilt-trippy letter about how much they missed me and how hard things were without me. Not one word of apology, just lots of, "We're struggling," and "Family should stick together," and "Marcus is having such a hard time." I pinned it to my fridge as a reminder of why I left. Next to it, I put a screenshot of my bank account showing actual savings for the first time in years. The weirdest adjustment was not the new city or the job or even the silence from my family. It was learning to spend money on myself without feeling guilty. The first time I bought something just because I wanted it, a decent coffee maker, I actually felt anxious, like I was waiting for someone to burst in and tell me I was being selfish. Sarah visited about 2 months after I moved. She took one look at my apartment with its mismatched thrift store furniture and half-unpacked boxes and said, "You look happier than I've seen you in years." She was right. Even with the IKEA furniture I had to build myself, by the way, whoever wrote those instructions is definitely a sadist, the slightly wonky shower pressure, and the neighbor who practiced saxophone at weird hours, I was actually happy. I left my financially abusive family, moved states away, and started living my best life. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs at you when you least expect them. 3 months into my new life, I was doing pretty great. I had a solid routine going, work was good, the apartment was feeling like home, and I finally figured out that damn IKEA bed frame. I'd even started dating someone from my hiking group. Turns out being financially stable makes you more confident. Who knew? Then one random Tuesday, I got an email from Marcus. Not going to lie, my first instinct was to delete it. Sarah had told me he had been having a rough time adjusting to actually having to work for stuff. "Welcome to real life, buddy." I figured it was just another attempt to guilt trip me, but curiosity got the better of me, and Sarah convinced me to at least read it. So, I opened it. It was actually an apology, a real one. Apparently, after I left, my parents started pressuring him to step up and help the family. Sound familiar? They expected him to get a job to help with bills while still maintaining his grades, and suddenly he understood exactly what they had been doing to me. Some quotes from his email. "I get it now. I'm sorry I was such an entitled little jerk. They tried to make me pay for the internet bill, and I nearly lost it. Can't believe you handled this for 3 years. That Civic you bought me? Actually a really good car. Sorry I was ungrateful." He mentioned he got a job at Starbucks and started doing DoorDash on weekends to cover his expenses, saying it was a real wake-up call about the value of money. He even said he was planning to move out himself as soon as he saved enough. I did not respond right away. It took a few days to process it and talk it over with Sarah. Honestly, I do not know what I would do without her as my personal therapist. I finally sent him back a short email saying I appreciated his apology and wished him luck with everything. Then, about a week later, I got an actual paper letter in the mail from my parents. Not an email, not a text. An honest-to-God handwritten letter in Mom's handwriting, but signed by both of them. This is where it gets interesting. They admitted they had been taking advantage of me. Apparently, Dad's hours at work had been cut way back 3 years ago, but instead of adjusting their lifestyle, they just used me to fill the gap. They apologized for making me feel like an ATM instead of their son. The letter included some heavy stuff. "We didn't realize how much we were asking of you until we had to do it ourselves. Marcus having to work part-time made us see how unfair we were to you. Your sister helped us understand how our behavior drove you away." Side note, Sarah later told me she had been giving them hell every time they tried to contact her for money. My sister is a savage, and I love her for it. Here is where it gets really wild. They did not ask for money at all. No hints about struggling, no mentions of bills or Marcus's needs, just an actual apology and a request to maybe try talking again sometime. I sat on that letter for a while and talked it over with my therapist. Yeah, I finally got one. Turns out, watching your entire family dynamic implode is something you should probably process professionally. After thinking it over, I decided to do something either really smart or really stupid. I sent them $5,000, not as a regular thing, not with any promises of more, just a one-time here's some help while you figure out your new normal kind of thing. Their response shocked me. Instead of immediately asking for more or acting entitled to it, they sent a genuine thank you note. Dad even called just to say thanks. No guilt trips, no manipulation, just gratitude. These days, things are different, maybe better. We talk sometimes, not a lot, but civilly. Marcus moved out like he said he would, got a decent job, and actually takes care of the Civic now. Mom and Dad had to downsize their lifestyle, but they are managing. Sarah is still my rock through all of this. She is killing it in her PhD program, and yes, I still help her out because she is literally the only one who never tried to take advantage of me. She keeps insisting on paying me back, even though I tell her not to, and sends me detailed spreadsheets of her expenses, because she is a nerdy goddess like that. As for me, life is pretty good. I got another promotion at work and started seriously dating that girl from the hiking group. She thinks my family drama would make a great movie. I finally bought myself a nice TV without feeling guilty about it. The whole experience taught me something important. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people closest to you, but once you set them, life gets so much better. Looking back, I do not regret leaving. Was it hard? Yeah. Did it hurt? Absolutely. But it was necessary, not just for me, but for all of us. Sometimes you have to blow everything up to build something better. Also, Marcus finally figured out how to change his own oil. Small victories, right? Since people keep asking, yes, Sarah is still awesome. She is writing her dissertation now, and no, I will not stop helping her because she is literally the only one who saw this nonsense for what it was from day one. For those invested in my IKEA journey, I finally got rid of that cursed bed frame and bought a real one.